Hi guys, today I made kimchi soda bread, which is basically a traditional Irish soda bread flavoured with Korean kimchi. And it was so delicious and really easy too. I used my own homemade kimchi. I'll put the recipe for that in the description below, or you could buy tins of it in Asian supermarkets, or it's readily available online. Start off by pouring about 50 millilitres of the kimchi juice into a jug. And next add 400 millilitres of buttermilk. Give it a quick stir and then set it aside until later. Now you're going to add about 500 grams of the cabbage to a chopping board. For me that was about half a cabbage head. If there's a lot of juice in that, you can go and add it to the buttermilk. Now go ahead and chop up the kimchi. It doesn't have to be too fine here. I think it's nicer when you actually see bits of it in the bread and it's not just all pulverised. Then pile it into a bowl and set it aside. Then after a quick clean up, grab your flour. I have 650 grams of plain flour here. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of bicarbonate of soda, but I'm going to rub it between my palms first. This is to get out any lumps that could be in there. Now, instead of sifting the dry ingredients, which takes a very long time, I'm going to whisk them up instead. It's almost as effective. Now pour in the buttermilk. Traditionally in Ireland, to mix this up, you take your hand in a rigid claw shape and mix up the ingredients. But because this kimchi juice is really spicy, it could really irritate your skin. So I'm using a rubber spatula, or a wooden spoon would do, or just mix it up the traditional way, but I'd wear rubber gloves if I were you. This can very easily be done by hand. You don't have to mix it in very well. This is a really rustic bread, and it should be quite dry at this stage, because we are going to add a lot of moisture in the form of the kimchi. So just mix that up really well until the kimchi is nice and dispersed throughout the bread dough and you have a nice consistency. Now lightly flour your work surface and turn the dough out onto it. It should be quite wet at this point, so go ahead and sprinkle a little bit of flour on top. Now there's no need to knead this, but you do need to shape it to just bring it all together. For just a minute or two, you can sprinkle a little more flour over it if it's looking a bit wet. Then transfer it onto a floured baking tray and just shape it again. Then score a cross onto the top of the loaf. This is to ensure an even bake and is another Irish tradition. Then transfer it to a preheated oven at 230 degrees Celsius, and once it's in, turn it down to 200 and let it bake for 1 hour. An hour later, it should be a lovely golden brown colour with a really crispy, crunchy crust. You'll know it's done if you flip it upside down and knock on the base of it, and if you hear a hollow sound, then it's cooked. So transfer it to a wire rack to cool completely. Now just slice into it and enjoy. I had this with loads of hummus and it was so delicious, really worth a go. If you wanted to make the loaf a bit better for sandwiches, you could bake it in a loaf tin, but just take it out of the tin and let it bake without the tin for the last 15 minutes. Thanks a million for watching, guys. I really hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button below and hit the subscribe button to subscribe to my YouTube channel. This recipe really was so easy as long as you do have the kimchi. If you want to make your own, that recipe is in the description below, or you can buy it online. Let me know on social media how you got on if you tried this recipe. You'll find all the links to my social media accounts in the description below, as well as the link to my blog where you'll find this full recipe at www.rookiecook.org.